post-lunch lull.
I'm just walking over.
Oh,
Jerry, here's a twig.
all right. Whew. Okay. We have been joined by several members of the ILEAD Steering Committee. I would ask if you could stand up so you may be recognized for helping us out. Jane, you're here.
I can't stand up at the moment.
Well, yeah. Phyllis, there you go. Thank you all very much. Your hard work, I hope you're seeing how it's paying off now.
Yes.
It's been fabulous. All right, without further ado, I give you 6 miles of local history.
Well, hi. I hope everybody feels nice and mellow after lunch. We talked about some enforced calisthenics, but we changed our mind on that.
Some people did need emergency yoga.
Our project was to create a website that tells some of the stories of the people, the places, and events that shape the communities of Granite City, Mitchell, and Pontoon Beach, all of which are down near St. Louis. And one part of the project, and what took an awful lot of everybody's time, was sorting through the masses of old photos that the Granite City Library actually owns. Plus, because we're gluttons for punishment, we got more from the Madison County Historical Museum. They have some really cool glass negatives that were really awesome. So we just kept adding to the pile. And as with many things, the more you look at these pictures, you start to imagine stories about these people or decide what your favorites are. So we thought by way of introduction, we would tell you who we are and show you what became our favorite photos from what we did. So first off is Jeanette Kampen. She is from the 6 Mile Regional Library District. And she really, every time she sees our 7 serious swimmers, she smiles.
I really like this one.
And we're going to go through the introductions in the order we're going to talk. So I'm Judy Thompson, and I'm actually from the Edwardsville Public Library. And I opted not to pick people. I picked this awesome float that was in a Labor Day parade. I think it was in 1908. No, the parade was commemorating the, I take it back, the anniversary of the founding of Granite City. And I like it because I like parades. Lynda Seegert from the 6 Mile Regional Library District. Really like this picture of these young women holding their wreaths. We're not exactly sure what that's all about, but we like it. Tallin Curran, who's down there at the computer from the 6 Mile Regional Library District. Really like this photo, and if you look really closely, there are 2 clowns.
How creepy are those?
That little girl knows.
I think there's something very discordant about that picture. And finally, our mentor, our extraordinary mentor, Gwen Stupar, is very intrigued by our little lady in a chair who clearly is thinking about something very profound, I think. So, as we talk about our project, rather than PowerPoint slides, so you'll just have to kind of try to listen to us, we have posted a lot of photos to start with on a public Flickr account, and we're just going to kind of scroll those behind us. And I want to give credit because some of them did come from the Madison County Historical Museum's collection, and I promised we would say that, so there you go. And so you'll see the photos for a while, and then we'll finally get to the website. So Jeanette is going to start off, and she's going to talk about what our goals were.
As Judy mentioned briefly, the goal of our team was to create a website devoted to the history of the 3 communities that the 6 Mile Regional Library District serves. And they are the city of Granite City, which according to the 2010 census had a population of approximately 29,000 people. The village of Pontoon Beach, which has approximately 5,900 residents. and the unincorporated area of Mitchell, which has almost 1,400 residents. These communities are in southwestern Illinois, just a few miles from the Mississippi River and St. Louis, Missouri. There is considerable interest in local history in our area, and of course the library has always provided the printed sources that exist for that information. Also, a local historical society was formed several decades ago and operates a house museum. However, many of the organization's founders are no longer living, and most of the few remaining members are elderly. Consequently, the organization has been largely inactive for some time. Some information about the history of Granite City, the largest of the communities we serve, has been put online during the last decade or so, but nothing exists that is comprehensive and does the following. Gathers together information on many aspects of Granite City's history, combines a large number of historical photos with narrative text as well as publications and documents, and organizes content so that it is easily accessible to anyone, anywhere. There's much less information available at the present time, either in print or online, on the history of Pontoon Beach and Mitchell. As a result, creating comprehensive histories of those communities on our site is a much greater challenge. However, an important part of our objective was, and will continue to be, involving the three communities in our project by asking for input and for donations or loans of pictures and other materials. We hope that an appeal to residents of Pontoon Beach and Mitchell will result in additional materials for the site. For all of these reasons, we think it's time for the library to step up and play a greater role in providing and preserving information on the history of our communities. In short, our team's project is long-term and evolving. The objective is to produce, over time, a comprehensive, credible website that will be invaluable to residents, students, researchers, and others interested in the history of Granite City, Pontoon Beach, and Mitchell, Illinois.
Well, I think I actually got a really easy part, which is to talk about what we've learned. And the short answer to that is we have learned a lot. First and foremost, I think we learned about possibilities. And we learned about that by coming to Springfield. Being a part of ILEAD gave us access to so many things to think about, so much information, so much hands-on. It's all in one place at one time, and it's just really been a great experience. And these skills are good not just for this project, but for lots of other things that we can do at both of our libraries. So that has really been just kind of the cornerstone of all of this for us. One of the challenges has to actually do with how our group came together. You might notice there are three people from Granite City, and then there's me, kind of the odd man out in this group. And in all honesty, I think they actually had somebody else lined up from a community college in Granite City, and then that person was not able to carry through. So I guess I'm their desperation pick, I'm not sure. But I think actually I'm here because the Madison County Genealogy Society keeps their collection in our library. So we have a really long-term, excellent relationship with them. We have a very good relationship with the Madison County Historical Museum. And our library actually did a digital imaging project with a grant from the state library a few years ago. And I just want to add as an aside that I think it's a testament to the wonderful people at the State Library that after all of the phone calls that Alice Scott fielded for me at the time, she still smiles when she sees me. Kudos to Alice for that. Thank you. And so really, it's their project. I mean, it's their material, it's their community. But I think what has been really nice about it is I haven't felt like the odd person out, and we've worked really well together as a team. We've all found our niche, and it's worked really well. You know, we learned to rely on each other's expertise and interests, and it's been a really good partnership. So that is another plus. One of the other things we learned about, I think we've heard about in all the other projects, is how time-consuming this is. You know, you have this glorious vision of what you're going to produce, and it's huge. And we never looked at this as anything but an evolving project, but it's still a huge time commitment. And that got complicated a little bit because during the goodly part of this past year, Granite City was seriously understaffed at their library. And, you know, that took a toll on how much time everybody had to contribute to this. One of the things we've talked about going forward is that perhaps contacting Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville or Southwestern Illinois Community College and seeing if we can make arrangements to get some kind of intern or graduate student who might be willing to work on this project for college credit, a small stipend, something like that. We think that that's perhaps a way to move this even farther along at a little bit better clip. The other part of this that has been difficult, and I think we still don't really quite have this figured out, is the community involvement. We had really high hopes for this. You know, here the library is saying, look what we're going to do, and tried a lot of things to get the community invested and involved, and maybe it just was a little too early for some of this, but they put together a really wonderful poster explaining the project with some photos for which they have no identification. You know, who is this person? What was this event? What business is this? And they put the poster at their main library, their branch, and I took one up to the Madison County Historical Museum, which is actually a really busy place because there's a nice library attached to it. They offered a gift certificate. They were going to do a random drawing for all these wonderful entries that people would put in the box. And sadly, all told, only got 3 responses. We contacted, Granite City has lots and lots of churches. We contacted the Ministerial Alliance, sent them information, which they said they would be happy to distribute to their, assorted congregations that are affiliated with the Alliance. You know, maybe people know about it, but nobody has come in to look at the posters, presumably. So that kind of fell flat, I think. We tried the newspaper route and actually talked to a reporter from kind of a regional paper, in fact. And I talked to her, and she talked to Jeanette, and actually her editor put the kibosh on it. You know, they were looking for something that was a little more human interest, where maybe if somebody had identified one of the photos, then they could really say, oh, so-and-so found their, great-great-grandmother. So we didn't get that kind of publicity. Now that we actually have a website, which will soon be unveiled, and Granite City's website has also been in flux, so they haven't been able to put a lot of information about this project on there, but they're on the road to a redesign of their website. So we're hoping that and some other kinds of marketing tools, we kind of did a prototype of a bookmark that could be distributed with some basic information and the website address. And maybe once the website is actually up, the newspaper maybe would do something, we hope. So that community involvement piece has really been a challenge, I think. And the community representative piece is part of that. You know, some of you have all talked about how actively involved your community representatives have been. And truly, for reasons outside of anybody's control, that has kind of not been the case here. We had a community representative from Pontoon Beach who was really interested, knew lots, very invested in this, and he sadly became really seriously ill, really ill, and so he had to drop out. Mary Westerhold, who is the operation manager of the Madison County Historical Museum, has been happy to continue to work with us, supplying photos, background information, but she's not from Granite City. You know, she doesn't quite have that direct community connection. And then the other community representative is actually associated with that old 6 Mile Historical Museum that Jeanette mentioned. And he's just super busy. You know, he's helpful, but we're not his only priority, I guess is what I would say. So we're helping as the project moves further along, we can stir up a bit more interest about this. And actually, Lynda is going to talk a little bit more about some other things that we're going to do to sustain this as time goes on.
Okay, well, Judy wasn't second best. She was supposed to be part of this project all along because of her connections to the Historical Museum. We did have a fifth person from SWIC, which is a local college, but she had to back out. So there is only the four of us. Anyway, as she said, we didn't have a lot of luck with the publicity for this program. But we do have some ideas that maybe will work better. We hope they will. Because the idea is to get the public involved. We want them to give us pictures. We want them to see a picture on the internet and say, oh, I know that person, and tell us who it is, and give us some comments so that we can add it to the site. And in order to do that, we need to let them know that it's there. I'm not sure if any of you remember, but last June, our poster session was pictures of the local bars and the churches. Well, Tallin had the idea that he'd like to go to some of these bars and bring a website.
Really? It's a historical bar hop.
Pictures. The idea is to compare the old with the new. So hopefully we'll get something from that. The old 6 Mile Museum. The old 6 Mile Museum was mentioned. They're in Granite City. And we had already talked with Jim Engelke, he's the head of the museum board. And the idea is for us to go in there and help them sort some of their stuff. And hopefully then we will get more pictures and information that we can add to the website. We would also like to go to the Madison County Genealogical Society and the Madison County Historical Museum, and hopefully we can give some talks and show them our website. And seems to me that would be a good place where we might find some more photos and information. Right now on my desk I have a box full of paper copies of oral interviews that were done by several of the local colleges in the area. And this semester, SIUE, which is in Edwardsville, they're going to do more oral interviews, and we will be given the paper copies of that and the audio copy. And what they're going to do is they're interviewing people who live in one small area of Granite City, which they call Lincoln Place. Okay. Eventually, we do hope to provide copies of photos to the public. If they see something they like, we'd like to be able to make them a photocopy of it. We have a nice new printer and we have a scanner. And if we get any interest, we will sell them a picture. We will have to charge a small fee for it, though. And eventually, we hope to have more links to the website. We want to continue with different subject areas that are related to history, such as Granite City's immigrant history. Tallin, I believe you're next.
All right. I've got my notes here on my cell phone, so I'm not texting or reading text. Anyway, about the process, for me, this started back in November, at least the first hint of it. That's when I was hired. It's the first library job I've ever had. I'm the IT manager. And the director, who was a mentor here last year, Tina Hubert, had told me, yeah, you know, we're looking at doing this history project if we get this grant, and you know, we're going to involve you in that. I'm like, you know, that's great. You know, I didn't know what she was talking about. So we got the grant. Hey, and anyway, we started along our path. And I should probably preface this with the fact that Gwen Stupar, our mentor, has really helped us along this entire way. She's poked and prodded and kept us going when we would, you know, go a week or two and not really have a whole lot to show for it. And you know, through emails, through our web conferences and different things like that, teleconferences. So that helped us out a lot. As far as choosing the equipment that we had for our grant, a lot of that was left up to me because of my IT background and some of it fell into that place. One of the main things we got was a camera, and we did get a DSLR camera. It's a Canon EOS 60D. Any of you were familiar. Consumer Reports #1 pick, by the way. And I'm a review junkie, so I read tons of reviews before I settled on anything. And a lot of accessories for it, the tripod, the head for the tripod. In case you didn't know, if you buy a pricey tripod, they don't come with a head. So you got to get that separate. A lot of times it's just as much as the tripod. But a flash, several accessories, a nice Pelican case in case I decide to throw it across the room in a fit of rage or anything like that. And we also actually use that to take pictures of various historical spots in granite, different things like that. But also for document scanning. We don't have a large format scanner. The entry-level decent ones are about $2,000. So we actually used it with the tripod. Bend the arm out like that and shoot pictures directly down on the table of some of our large format books that we have. One in particular, if you want to pull that up, is something called the Granite City Progress Edition, which was a supplement to the Granite City Press Record in 1924. And it turned out pretty good, especially for a first shot. We've done this with one other book. This thing's about 50 pages, about 50 or 60 pages, by the way. But we were actually relatively happy with it. We are going to host this on the website. It's not currently there, but it'll be available for anybody to download in our community or anywhere else. We did get a scanner. We did not have a decent scanner, so we had to buy one of those. It was a CanoScan 9000F, if anyone cares. We also had another scanner, a small handheld one called a Magic Wand, which actually makes it easy when you have something that's not, great for putting on a flatbed. Just a quick scan, and you got to have a steady hand, otherwise you'll have waves in the picture. But we did get a production computer for this purpose because most of the computers in our library are slow. So we ended up getting an Asus desktop, and that has all the speed that we need for this project and others if we like. The printer that Lynda had talked about is a Canon Pixma Pro 9000 Mark II. It actually uses 8 inkjet cartridges to do all of that stuff, do all the printing. And we're very pleased with the print quality, so if anybody wants a copy of some of the pictures that we have, we can pretty much do it on the spot for them. And an external hard drive backup, and then we're doing offsite backup also because I'm paranoid and I'm the IT guy and I'm supposed to be paranoid about that stuff. As far as choosing a spot to set up, we were going through a staff area renovation through a lot of this and still are. So we had to wait a few weeks before we had a decent spot to really set up. Once we found it down near the children's area, everything's going smooth. Everything fits back there. It's working great. We had to gather and organize photos. We talked a lot about that. That took a lot of time. And it's going to take a lot more time because we've got a whole lot more to scan. Right now, I think we've got 231 photos on the Flickr page. And we haven't even dented the surface. Not to mention some that have already been scanned by the Madison County Historical Society. We have them at our library, but they're not online yet. And then the scanning, any of you that have done digitization know that it's kind of tedious. It takes a long time to scan, especially when you're talking slides. Because generally you do those at a higher resolution since they're so small. And if you have 4 slides on your plate, it might take 5 minutes of just, okay, scan, walk away, go do something else, or find something else to do. We did get a Flickr Pro account. The reason right now that we're going with this over something like Dublin Core metadata, or we plan to do that in the future, but Flickr's popular. We can get a lot of people that way. We haven't publicized this Flickr account in the least, and we've already had over 1,000 hits on the pictures. And we've had people want favorite some of the pictures and want to add them to their groups, and I love that. That's great. And the Pro account's $25 a year, so it's almost nothing. Pictures, everything we scan, we save as a TIFF. For Flickr, even with the Pro account, they want 20 megabytes or smaller, JPEG generally. So we did a little bit of compression with that. It's not too hard. But once it's on there, we do have, anyone can access the original size scans in JPEG format on the Flickr. When it came to adding the tags and data, Lynda has taken care of most of that. And I know that's a tedious process. They allow, I think, 75 tags per picture. So you got a lot to work with. And she's been doing great at going over that. We still have to tag a few more, and then we'll have to tag all those future ones, but she's been doing a great job on that so far. As far as writing the text, Jeanette has been great at that. We actually have 3, I guess what you would call articles almost, that have sources, by the way. So, yeah, I like that. You don't see those too often on sites like this, unless they're done by a library, I guess. But, oh, and by the way, Judy has showed up several times to scan a lot of those pictures and really do some of the straightening and a little bit of touch-up here and there. We haven't done anything extreme in terms of touch-up, but we have been doing a little bit, and Judy has spent many hours helping us with that. As far as the website itself, we had already paid for hosting for our main website. Currently the URL, by the way, history.smrld.org. We don't have any QR codes for you to scan right now. History.smrld.org. SMRLD is 6 Mile Regional Library District. But yeah, this is what we've set up so far. And here's one of our articles on the National Enameling and Stamping Company, which is a huge part of Granite City history. And our host, actually we're going with GoDaddy. If you do a provider like that, see if you can negotiate something cheap. If not, always look for coupon codes. We saved $100 that way. Let's see, for the format, or for our back end, basically, we went with WordPress. We have some people on staff who will end up working on the future of this website. They're comfortable with WordPress. We did decide to go with WordPress. When you pick a WordPress theme, if you're not an HTML guy like myself, try to find one that's highly customizable. Now, I can make my way through HTML and make changes, but I'm slow about it. It'd be much more efficient to have a highly customizable theme, and that's what we found. We're going to make a lot more tweaks than this. In fact, here on the sidebars, you can tell this is basically the same thing, just laid out differently. That one kind of flashes through, and this is the 10 latest pictures in that format. I'm just playing around. That's a plugin called Flickr, by the way. And it just brings it right in from Flickr to your website. You can tell it to pull up certain tags or different sizes and all of that. It's very, very handy. And other than that, it's a work in progress. We do plan on doing some stub type pages for me. I keep talking about the taverns and bars. The taverns, bars, churches, restaurants, where there's a little bit of information on them, and then we open up comments at the bottom and basically invite people to share their memories. My own reason for that is that I brought up the taverns with some of my uncles and other people that they knew in several different conversations, and you can just bring that up. And, hey, where did you go hang out? And it's not that they're alcoholics, at least not all of them. But they'll go, you just bring it up and they'll go for hours on their own. One of my uncles literally started, okay, well, let's start down on Madison Avenue. Okay, 14th Street, you had this, 15th, we got this, and going down the line. And there were a lot of them in this area. We currently have a list of about 250 churches. About 100 overall. There's still about 75 in that area. And there's like 45,000 people in that entire area. So it's a lot of church and a lot of taverns and the thin line between Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Someone tweet that.
What's your takeaway, Dave?
Anyway, oh, and by the way, that'll actually have titles once you've cataloged that part. So it'll make a little more sense. At this moment, that's all for me. If you would like to come back.
Okay. So I don't want to forget anybody because this is the thank you part of all of this. And so obviously we want to thank everybody connected with ILEAD, speakers, instructors, steering committee people. All of you have just made this a really positive experience. So thank you from all of us for that. Our next thank you absolutely goes to Gwen. Gwen, who works at the Northbrook Public Library and lives up near there, came all the way down to Granite City and Edwardsville to visit us, which is way above and beyond. And it was a good couple of days, I think.
Absolutely.
So-
She even
Thank
helped
you
us
for
sort some
inviting
pictures.
Yeah,
me.
yeah, she actually went to work. We found a good place for lunch. It was all good. And also, obviously, the ILEAD grant through the Institute of Museum and Library Services in the Illinois State Library. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that. It paid for all the school equipment. We want to thank our community representatives who, for better or worse, really do care about this and care about making this history available. So we'll plug along with it. And our final thank you goes to Tina Hubert, the director of the 6 Mile Regional Library District, and Deanne Holzhauser, who's the director at Edwardsville Public. They have been, I guess I can't say awesome, epic in their support for this. So thank you so much, and if you have questions, we're game to try to answer them.
I was at a meeting with museum directors, sort of national museums, and one of the things they talked about was their diaspora communities. And that one of the things, so I'm sitting here in Rwanda, and I've got this collection, and it turns out that as they put things online, they're finding all these people from the US and Europe, and suddenly are getting access to these resources. So one of the things that struck me when you're talking about getting participation by local churches and such, is actually you might find greater participation and even a greater appreciation of this outside of the region, outside of Illinois even, and looking for, folks who lived through the taverns and then their kids moved away and such. So just a thought.
Well, a hopeful thought.
We do have, apparently there is a woman in Carson City, Nevada or something like that. We had been told about her who she grew up in the area, and apparently she's got just a heck of a collection of pictures and that, but we haven't been able to get a hold of her yet. So
Well, and the number, how many hits have you gotten on Flickr, you said already?
over 1,000. Just, that's each picture, but it's, and most of them ballooned in one day out of nowhere.
Yeah. And so, you're going to find whole
Yeah.
new communities that are interested in using these photos for different reasons.
Yes.
That book you digitized, I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was. Are you going to save that as a PDF?
Yes, actually that was a PDF
Okay.
there.
So-
And I OCR'd it,
Okay.
and it was like 136 megabytes that way. Regular size, about 26. Finding that nice compromise between size and quality and everything. But yeah, we're gonna play around with it more. And
Does the shot tower still exist? If you left.
Which one?
The shot tower?
No, not that
Too
one.
bad.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yep. Hi,
I
Alex.
have a question. Hi, Judy. I just want to say that I am so proud of this team. You guys were like a bunch of scared rabbits. You really were not too confident that you could do this. And I'm so proud of you. This is fabulous. I love this.
That's a great comment. Thank you again. Great job. History in the making. You're on deck. Someone set up. Great job.